Hello and welcome to Media 7, recorded before a live audience at Auckland's Classic Comedy Club. We've much to get through in this show. We'll look at a question for which there sometimes seems to be no good answer in journalism, what is on and what is off the record, and later I'll talk to storied trauma photographer Jim McMillan. But first, it's this week's Take 2, where Sarah Daniel finds good news and bad news hand in hand for a media legend.
Peter Bromhead, cartoonist. For every award he's won, he's matched it with a redundancy. Tally so far, 10.
I'd heard in the morning a rumour that my cartoon had been taken out of the file. And I thought, oh, it must be because it's not relevant anymore. They'll be wanting another cartoon. So I actually drew them another cartoon in the afternoon. And then I get a ring back from an administrator saying, oh, haven't you heard you've been dumped? And I remember I was just tying my bow tie and going off to the Qantas Awards. I was awarded with the highest award for my services to print journalism.
You could say he was drawn to cartooning.
The drive to cartoon, for me, was stronger than any other driving force. After a year of rejection slips, I finally got an acceptance and a cheque for $3. And at that point, I nearly gave up because, I could handle the rejection slips, but I couldn't handle a cheque for $3.
He got his first gig at The Truth, then the Auckland Star, and the rest, as they say, is history.
The essence of good cartoons is parody and irony. I certainly don't like putting wittyisms into the mouths of politicians who in reality are not capable of uttering them. Sharpness of my particular pen was drawing politicians badly. Put in some shadow there because his eyes are sunken, so that they never ever wanted the original cartoons. The biggest insult was when they asked for an original cartoon, which I felt that I'd failed miserably. People like Muldoon were God sent for everybody, and he used to lead with his chin, and it was easy to strike back. I'm not sure what to make of John Key yet. I'm still very suspicious of him, simply not because of his political stance, but on the fact that in a former life he greedily made a great deal of money working as a trader on the market. So there is another animal inside that man that I haven't yet come to grips with, and his surface niceness must hide other values underneath, I imagine.
What makes a good cartoon?
Once upon a time, I would go into a long spiel about what I thought the essence of a good cartoon really was, and I would start talking about Zen-like features and so on and so forth, and the philosophy behind it and the importance of it all. When you become hard-boiled over a number of years, you come down to accepting that a good cartoon is one the editor accepts. I don't think there's much intellectual depth in cartooning in New Zealand. There's so much time, energy put on to sport in this country, which is out of all proportion to other events, that I just get slightly irritated at such things. And I just can't be bothered. I've never bothered cartooning on rugby, which may be one of the reasons I got the demise at the Sunday Star, because I understand the new editor is a very keen rugby fan.
So how do you top 10 redundancies?
I suppose the ultimate redundancy is when you kick the bucket. I would like to think that if I had a gravestone that they would put on it, he met his final deadline.
Sarah Daniel there, and on a personal level, best of luck to Bromhead. Now, young journalists are usually taught that when dealing with an interview subject, nothing is, or should be, off the record. That's not how it always actually works at the coalface. But is the convention changing anyway? Simon Pound has a look.
TV reporting is not reality. There's makeup, noddies, lights, acting, camera setups, and subjects are in on this artifice. So, is it okay to show the bits that subjects thought might stay behind the scenes? Last year, TVNZ political editor Guyan Espiner was famously harangued by then Finance Minister Michael Cullen as the camera was setting up. Cullen alleged that Espiner was out for tax cuts for selfish reasons.
If you really think that it's a personal issue...
I think for a number of members of the press, Garrett, is a personal
so
issue.
me and Vernon and Colin and Tracy Watkins and everyone else just wants a personal
Tracy,
tax cuts.
And the Herald and you.
Guyan ran this as his story. Cullen was unimpressed as he thought the pre-interview chat was not for broadcast. Or how about this interview with Melissa Lee by TV3 political editor Duncan Garner? Sometimes interviewees wish to restate their answers. It isn't live after all, and generally reporters like this as it makes for concise grabs. So, was it fair to show Lee foundering in this answer?
You know, when we have this unitary, sorry, I've gone a blank. The main thing that people are concerned about in Mount Talbot is whether the 12, God. Sorry, let me start again.
When in the source footage, available on the TV3 website, it is obvious she composed herself immediately after and gave a concise answer.
Sorry, let me start again. Yeah. The thing that people are actually concerned about is whether, you know, the 12 borough wards and 8...
And then there is the curious Bridget Saunders interview on Close Up. They showed all the bits that it appeared Saunders thought they wouldn't be using. She was giving performance sitting down and talking process standing up, like this, talking to the reporter standing.
Ask me about the married men.
Okay.
Please.
Right. I will. Yeah.
You can ask me about the married men.
You want me to ask you?
Please.
Okay.
And to the nation sitting.
There's also rumours about you sleeping with married men, even politicians. What do you say to that?
I'm so glad you asked me about that. I have never been near any married man ever in my life.
Is it fair to run the bits that were obviously not aimed at the audience? Or should Bridget Saunders have known better than to do anything in front of a camera she didn't want shown?
Simon Pound with that report. I'm joined now by the person who featured at the end of that piece and who might now be wondering if anything is off the record. Recently retired Sunday Star Times gossip columnist Bridget Saunders. Bridget, welcome.
I can't quite believe I'm here.
Well, we're very glad you are. Now, on what basis were you approached to do that close-up interview?
I got a very, very friendly, warm email from Close Up, and they wanted to do 7 years of the highs and lows of About Town. And I thought that was a great way to end having done About Town for that long, so I didn't hesitate. I didn't miss a beat. I said yes.
Did you talk about that topic in the interview?
About married men?
No, about the 7 years of About Town. Was that actually discussed in the interview?
That's a really interesting question because I brought it up, but from memory they didn't bring it up. So they actually filmed me for an hour non-stop talking, and I did my best to give them a really good interview about the highs and lows of About Town. It didn't enter my head that would happen, which is naive, and I was completely astounded by but I was really astounded at myself for being so naive. Why didn't I see it coming? But I truly didn't see it coming.
But as you said, you got a friendly email. There was no mention of turning the tables, which was how the piece was set up on the programme.
And they were so lovely when they arrived. Like, they were so lovely. Kissy, cup of tea, you know. It was really, really warm and nice. It was, I mean, I know, but, you know, sucker. Yeah.
Why did you get up and walk off camera?
The married men thing is really interesting because even the way they edited it was actually noxious, because I actually didn't say, ask me about married men. Why would I say that? He'd already asked me about it, and I was furious. And I went, got up off the seat, because I was cross, you know, and then I went, no, ask me about married men. But it wasn't me initiating saying, ask me. I mean, it wouldn't have entered my head. Yeah.
How many times did you get up and walk off camera?
Twice. But I didn't walk off camera. I just got out of the chair because I was cross, you know.
Why did you do that? That seems like an unwise thing to do. There's always the danger of that going to be used.
I just didn't, honestly, it's so naive, but I didn't enter my head. I can truly say, I mean, I did have that terrible job title of gossip columnist, but I honestly tried, I really did try through the whole 7 years to do it as decently as I possibly could, and I never ever was nice to someone's face and stabbed them in the back, ever. And I certainly never ever lied to anyone to get a story, so I didn't see it coming.
Are you saying they lied to you for this one?
Well, they misrepresented what they were going to do. Having said that, I'm not complaining. I mean, I did have that job description, and for 7 years I had the power that comes with the job, and I can understand that people would want to kick back at the person with the power. That's fine. You know.
The other moment that was lingered on was your minute-long silence after being asked about cosmetic surgery. Well, surely there were 3 answers to that: yes, no, or no comment. Why didn't you do that?
Because I thought if I was silent, he wouldn't be able to use it. I thought, I mean, what is it? I should have said, why are we talking about my appearance? We're supposed to be talking about town, but it didn't enter my head. So, I just didn't think they would go that route.
Do you think you were naive?
Very naive.
So were you aware that the camera was on the whole time? Every bit shown there, were you aware that the camera was on?
No idea.
If there's a cameraman behind it, surely you should know.
Well said. You are talking to a very silly woman. Yeah, what can I say?
The other thing that struck me about that report was that it blew right past what I thought was the most interesting thing in it, where you referred to a small group of people trying to flay you alive, and they're in the process of trying to make that happen. I presume that was a response to the defamation action being brought by your former rival's mother. Were you surprised that that wasn't taken up?
Taken out?
Taken up in the interview.
I think now, with respect to you, we're heading where they were heading, and this is coming up in court, and it's not much fun, and it's something I absolutely do not want to talk about.
Yeah, I understand that you can't talk about it, but I was quite surprised that it wasn't pursued in the interview.
That they didn't pursue it?
Yes.
But I explained to them why they couldn't pursue it.
Right, and still you alluded to it. That's possibly a little unwise.
I didn't allude on camera.
Yes.
Well, I was talking to them. They were really nice boys. They came into the house. They were warm and they were sweet. One of them I'd met before. I'd filmed with him before. It didn't enter my head that they were going to be antagonistic, and I was just quite open and I didn't have any. I mean, I didn't ask them about questions. I didn't ask them if they were going to talk to anyone else. I was just quite open with them.
Were you surprised that they also went to your former rival as well? Was that part of the deal?
No, look, mostly I was surprised at myself for being so silly. I should have seen it, but I didn't see it. I mean, they didn't. I mean, they just, it's the way it goes.
Have you ever taken media advice?
I've asked for media advice. I mean, from a professional.
Media skills training, yes.
No.
Perhaps no. You should have. I mean, I presume you're not going to do this again. You'll know what's going on.
I hope you're right. Yeah. But I think the whole story of About Town all the way along, I had this very odd job with this extraordinary amount of power attached to the job, and I did take it very, very seriously, and I think I did do it well. I hope I did do it well. I certainly cared, and I certainly was naive many times.
Again, coming back to this phrase at the top of that report, turning the tables, the implication seemed to be that you were getting some of your own medicine. Do you accept that?
I understand where they were coming from, but what's really interesting to look at now is that the producer of Close Up is Mike Valentine. He's married to Carolyn Ming-Yi, who's the deputy editor of the Herald on Sunday, so there may have been a slight bias happening there.
In what sense? You can't go all silent on me now. You've mentioned it now, Bridget. You can't go all silent on me.
The Herald on Sunday employs Ms. Glusina, and I'm involved with legal action with her mother, and they are very, very close, so I think there may have been some slight bias.
Well, we have Mike Valentine coming up on the panel very soon after the break, so I can ask him about that. In the meantime, I presume you're going to get some media advice before you do another TV interview.
I think I ought to.
Bridget Saunders, thank you very much. Best of luck for your new work.
I think I might need it.
Yes. And as I said, after the break, it's the turn of the journalists.